Saturday, Jerry got to see it all today. First, after 14 days, just want to thank you guys for all your support. Every day through spring, I want to thank and congratulate Jerry for his graduation into real life. And you and Tess hopefully are going to get a chance to get around and travel a little bit. But thanks for all you do. I don't know who's going to take over for the injury questions.
It'll be guys, I'm sure.
Okay, we'll get someone.
Chris can handle it.
Hey, guess what? You'll be gone, but we'll be still talking about you. Might have to just kind of pretend Jerry's sitting there in that first seat there. But enjoy, appreciate everything you do. 14 in. You can just feel the energy out there as practice goes on. Again, Jerry saw it. The guys are fired up. They love this Jersey scrimmage, whatever you want to call it, spring game with drafted up. I mean, they just after 14 days of going against each other, they're ready to do it against somebody else. I think it gives us great energy going into number 15. And as we've talked all spring, we want to finish. We're talking about getting 3% better every day. It's about finishing the spring right, getting number 15 in, and looking sharp out there in all phases. So I'm looking forward to what they have. Questions?
You mentioned the offense was running the ball a little bit better this spring, maybe it was earlier in the spring, but how does the pass protection looked, and are you able to tell when quarterbacks can't get hit?
Yeah, quarterbacks don't get hit, but we're blowing the whistle on sacks. We'll do the same thing Saturday. If someone gets close, they have to get close. But we want to stay far enough away. Just tapping them on the butt. We'll give sacks that way. It's hard to tell, because all three are athletic. They're not just sitting in the pocket getting tagged. I mean, they're going to move around. So our defense saw a great dose of some scrambling that happens, because all three quarterbacks can beat you with their feet. Okay, and shoot, David Lynch, I should say four. David Lynch can beat you with his feet as well. So all of them are athletic and can throw on the run. So that's a benefit to us. It helps our defense with having that athletic quarterback. So we'll see what it looks like on Saturday.
We got CJ and Poppy and Desmond, the guys coming up behind them, the playmakers. You see those guys have potential to be playmakers in September?
Yeah, we've got a lot of young guys. I mean, we talk about TK. You saw Cam Sapp have a nice touchdown. The guys got all excited today. It's a good young group of skill guys, whether it's Sean Lee at the secondary or TK and Bryce Yates. We probably don't say enough about Bryce Yates. He had another nice catch today as well. So really that freshman class of receivers we brought in are pretty special.
What position group do you think has improved the most over the course of spring practice?
Oof, boy, Amanda. I hope every one of them. We talk about getting 3% better, and on Saturday we'll give out our Ed Conway Award winner, and that's hard. Okay, that is really hard because there's a lot of guys that got better. I mean, there's a lot of guys that got better. And again, if you get 3% better, if you get 1.5% better every day, we shoot for 3. But if you get 1.5% better every day, you're getting a lot better. So we became a better football team overall. Each individual, there's not many guys that didn't improve. But we'll find out who that Ed Conway Award winner is. We'll give that to you on Saturday at our breakfast. I'm happy. There's a lot of them. I couldn't tell you what position group, because if it's only one position group, then we probably got issues and not satisfied. So, I think we got better, O-line, D-line. I know we got better receiver. We got better in the backfield. Our quarterbacks are better. Our secondary is better. Our linebackers are better. I mean, we're our kickers. I mean, there's big kicker questions with, Ben Saul's leaving, but we got a kicking battle on. So, everybody got better. I mean, I was talking to Junko before practice when the kickers were kicking in our field goal period. He's like, man, how much better Sam Carpenter got. Like he sees it, we see it, everybody sees it. Hopefully you'll see it on Saturday.
Ed, secondary, are there things you can do in these practices to simulate the communication, and how do you feel like those guys are meshing?
Yeah, there's, communication's critical. That's what we talk about every day, Jeff. The communication is critical, and it couldn't be a better offense to go against, because it's not like it's slow tempo. You got to communicate fast. You better know what you're seeing formationally, splits, the whole deal. So that's talked about every single. I mean, that's what we do. That's our defense. We're trying to put our kids in position to make plays, and the check system that we have back there is number one. I mean, you can be athletic, you can run, but if you can't communicate, put everybody on the same page, then you got issues. So, get part of the 3% better, athletically, technically, and mentally.
What have you seen from the guys at defensive end, other than Jimmy Scott? Is there a guy or two that are sort of pushing right now for maybe a top spot on the other side?
Yeah, still a battle, but like when you look at it now, I look at Jimmy Scott, again, he was a good player for us last year. His motor's running all day long now. Like there was some ups and downs with him, but like he's become a which is what we want to do. You talk about getting 3% better every day. I think Jimmy has. He's gotten, better mentally and physically and technically. So, I'm excited about him. The other guys, obviously, there's a lot of competition, but I would say, and Blaine didn't get every practice in. He's done some nice things, and we'll see what he's got on Saturday. Looking forward to him being healthy out there, getting just with the same little thing he had coming in. We didn't want to get him any worse. But Jaden Moore has really done a nice job. I mean, he's a guy that coming from a different defense, picking up the notebook and what we do. He's been impressive.
Noticed yesterday.
Joey Zielinski's been good too. I mean, Nate Temple's an old man. He's not as old as you, Jerry.
Nobody is.
But nobody. But he's done a good job coming back from that injury, and I still don't think he's 100%. I talked about some guys just it takes a while to get back and change in direction. Talked about Eli the other day. Like there's some guys that are coming off injuries that still won't be where they are going to be.
Noticed yesterday Keith Boubet as a center. It seemed like he'd been a guard. I know Coretta got hurt. Do you still see him as a guard long
Is that
term?
an injury question?
No, it's a
Told you. The
position.
Torch has been passed.
Again, we've been working center quarterback exchange. Maybe some of you guys watched down there. Start off with Ryan, and obviously Cooper. Lyndon Cooper's had a great spring. He's become a leader on offense. Coop has really loved where he's at. But when Coretta went down in the scrimmage, Coach Darbo said, "Hey, Keith, you're in next," because he was one didn't get any snaps at center. But last Friday night, sudden change. Coach called him out and said, "Keith, you're up," and he's like, "Oh." It looked like he's a mummy. He had so much tape on his right hand, so he had to get that glove off and all the tape off his hand so he could go and snap. And he did a great job. I mean, you talk about having to work another situation, and it's like he played center before. I mean, it's that communication up front. When you're a guard, you kind of know what the center does, but it was a blessing that we were able to work those center quarterback shotgun snaps or under center snaps, whatever we're doing, to the point where we could be efficient when he came in. So it was impressive that he came in. So again, he'll move over and play that spot on Saturday for our football team, and he loves it. He's a football player.
Is Kendall Stanley working primarily at guard, or is he still also working at tackle?
Kendall can do anything. He can play tackle. We're always going to get our five best out there, but I see Kendall as a starter. I think he can play guard. I think he can play tackle. He's just learning. He loves football. He's intense. He's physical. And he'll do anything. He doesn't care. We put him in center. He can go play center too, probably. But right now we got to really work in two spots. And anytime you get an injury in practice, whether it's spring or fall, it's like how do you get your best five out there? It's kind of practice for the fall as we move forward.
Any of the early enrollees just kind of really catch your eye with how they were able to pick stuff up?
A lot of them. Again, this has been a good class that's come in mid-year, whether it's the transfers or the freshmen. You guys have heard me talk about them. I mean, obviously those three offensive linemen have come in and been really impressive. I mean, Percy, all the way to Keith and Stanley. So you look at those defensive ends, the newcomers there. We're happy with those. Rashawn Murray, a little bit banged up. I just saw him coming out of the indoor. Hopefully he's probable, that you saw from the depth chart yesterday. So he's like, I want to go. I don't know if the doctors are going to let me. I was like, well, hey, they're going to do what's best for you. It's not what's best for us. It's what's best for you. And but we're happy with him. And so we're good there. As far as the freshmen, talk about those receivers that we have in. It's easy to come in as a receiver, a running back, skill guy. It's a little harder for like a Juju Anderson defensive end. His body's still not it doesn't look like some of those older guys that have been here in the past. For Juju, but like when you look at the skill guys, and Bryce Shakes, we already talked about. TK Kinsler looks really good. Cam Sapp looks really good. The running back Boosie, I think you guys will be impressed when you watch number 25 run. On Saturday, I mean, he's been really impressive. He was first tailback off the board yesterday. So there's a lot of them. I'm probably missing somebody, but those guys stand out to me at those positions. I tell you what, Max Hunt. I haven't said enough about Max Hunt. For a young guy coming in, he had some injuries in high school. He's come in. He's been physical. He's been impressive. He really has. And for a true freshman to come in and make it through 15 practices, not miss a day, and stay engaged and continue to stay with the installs that Coach Bell's throwing out there, I think he's done an excellent job.
This one's off the beaten path a little bit.
Oh boy.
At this point, I don't care.
That's right. Heck yeah. Shoot.
How much more are you consumed by off-the-field stuff, personnel stuff, financial stuff regarding your team than you were 10 years ago?
Well, I mean, it's part of your, it's part of the job now, okay? But like, when we're in football, we'll be in football. Like, I don't think about it, our players don't think about it. We think about football and doing what we need to do.
But not now, but after Saturday.
Yeah, after Saturday, we'll have those conversations after Saturday, the house settlement, not settled yet, but like all those things, again, I've got people to take care of that. I'm worried about being a football coach, making sure our offense is on the same page, defense is on the same page, making sure we're getting 3% better on special teams as well. We got a little kickoff drill for you, field position on Saturday. Instead of just running, 11 guys down on the kickoff and having a regular kickoff, it'll be a one-on-one, okay? And if, the kickoff team wins, running down, we'll send out 3 one-on-ones. So it'll be you versus Jerry. Okay, Jerry will probably beat me, but based on who wins is where that, that field position gets to. So without trying to, have a bunch of guys, so it'll be a one-on-one isolation on kickoff return of who's going to block and who can cover the kick. And it's not necessarily who, who makes the tackle, because with all that space, no one's going to make a tackle. I hope the returners can make a miss when there's one guy running down the field. But it's a matter of technique, doing it the right way, and not getting a penalty, holding call or whatever. So it'll be a great opportunity after a touchdown or the opening kickoff. That's kind of how we'll start the game off.
When you put this,
No.
when you put the staff list up yesterday, I noticed Joe Sayamala's name on it.
Who's?
Joe Sayamala.
Yep.
How did that come about, and did you know him before?
I didn't know him before, but I got some great phone calls on him. Obviously, I talked to his son. He lives probably throw a rock in his son's house from my house. So, there was interest. Obviously, he's coached at a high level. Joe's a heck of a football coach. We're blessed to have him on our staff, and probably later we'll talk about maybe some of those extra support guys once we're finished with everything there. But we lost a strength coach last week. Delvon Gordon left for the Houston Texans. Great opportunity for him. So thank him for all his work in Pitt, and we're excited for the next guy that comes in. We already got a guy in mind. Won't get into it right now, but so we'll kind of make you got to kind of wait till everything's the dust settles, in my opinion, before you say where you are. But we're happy to have Joe. He's done an outstanding job helping out in that D-line room, and not only coaching and having ideas, but building relationships with our players.
Just building off Jerry's question, one of the things you are going to have to do is seemingly be at 105 in July. I think I counted 102 on your roster now. You've got 7 or 8 freshmen coming in. How are you going to approach that process of making sure getting your number where it needs to be?
Yeah, we don't have to be at 105 in July. That's the first thing, okay? We don't have to be at 105 until classes start, from our understanding. So we get to compete through August, which is important to find out what your depth is. Chris, if you pull a hammy in, August 1st, if you're not healthy, we don't have to count you to 105. There'll be a major. So, hearing that from our people up on campus, that's a bonus. Okay, so you hate to lose 5 guys for the season. It's like now you're at 100. Like, it's hard to run a program with 105, but if you're already -5 going into the season, that's critical. So, so when this, I think it's the first day classes or when camp is over. It's that late. It's post camp. So we'll be able to find out, and there'll be a lot of competition going on in fall camp, which makes it great for everybody. So you got to earn your position. And then there was talk yesterday with the house settlement. So who knows? Anybody that's cut those guys loose early, and kind of said, oh, it's going to be 105. Let's just get rid of them now. Like, we're not doing that. That's not fair to the kids. I'm hoping, they talk about a grandfathering into it. Like, I guess Judge Wilkins not real happy with that, which is great. So who knows? Maybe, maybe we'll have 110 or 12 or 15. Who knows what we'll have? I don't know. There's so much unknown. You would think you would know. The one thing I know is they're saying, the date for when we have to be at the 105. But is it going to be 105? Is it going to be? We don't know. So we got a lot of guys still competing, and it continues on Saturday.
Do you like how your job has changed over the years?
I do. You like a challenge. I don't like to get stale. To me, if it's the same thing, it gets monotonous after a while. Like, hey, it's all part of the job. It's part of the challenge. You embrace it. There's always going to be change, whether it's rule changes on the field or rule changes off the field. So, you hope it gets straightened out and cleaned up a little bit. But whatever the rules are, we play by the rules and do what we have to do. I got great support up on campus with Chancellor and Coach Coach Green up there, now's done a great job helping us wherever we need. Every turn we take, hopefully we get better.
Do you have a prediction for Saturday?
Ooh, I'd be in real trouble if I predicted. They'd be using it against me, so.
That's why I
You know, it's like I told the offense, defense, I don't care who wins, okay? I want to have few unforced errors. I want to see guys jumping off sides. That's the bonus of having, the one offensive line and the two offensive line together. You know, it's hard to say who's going to win. I think it's a balanced draft. I really do. There's still some, as I told our team this morning, there's still some coaches trying to bargain for some late trades in the draft to try to, make things good. But to me, I'm going to be happy either way. A 27-21 game, I'd be happy. If it's 7-0, I'm going to be happy for the defense, not happy for the offense. If it's 54-51, I'm going to be happy for the offense and ask them what the defense is, doing out there. So, there's, I take no colors. I'll come out and hopefully wear black. EJ, make sure Dantas gets me some black. He might have given it all to Gruden already. I don't know if we have anything left in the equipment room, but I'm rooting for Pitt to stay healthy coming out of this game. And again, points scored on offense. You have to score to win, and you got to play great defense. So it'll be a battle, and sometimes there'll be some weaknesses that people will try to expose based on how that draft went. And that to me is part of coaching. Is now it's our offense defense staff's job to find out who the weakness is. Like if I know Jerry's the right end, I might have to put a running back over there and chip him so we can protect the quarterback. So those are all part of what I expect to see on Saturday is find out who that personnel is. If Jerry was playing corner, we got Jerry check. So if Jerry goes in the game, we know we're going to throw it at Jerry. So see if you got any deep ball skills.
Definitely throw it to me if you want to score.
That's right.
Anything final before we get to Coach Bell?